In a move that sent shockwaves across the globe, President Donald Trump signed an executive order effectively legalizing bribery for American businesses operating overseas. This controversial decision marks a radical departure from decades of American policy and raises profound questions about the future of ethical business practices. Trump's justification, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, a cornerstone of anti-bribery legislation since 1977, is bad for business. The executive order directing Attorney General Pam Bondi to cease all prosecutions under the FCPA represents a stark reversal of long-held American values. Critics argue that it undermines decades of progress in promoting transparency and fairness in international business dealings. The implications of this decision are far-reaching and have sparked widespread uncertainty and concern among businesses, policymakers, and citizens alike. Trump's decision to halt FCPA enforcement signals a significant shift in American policy. This shift has the potential to erode trust in American businesses and diplomacy, particularly in regions where corruption is already rampant. The move has left many questioning the motivations and potential consequences of such a drastic policy shift. Is this a calculated strategy to bolster American economic dominance, or a reckless gamble with potentially devastating consequences for the global fight against corruption? Bribery is not just an ethical issue, it's a global economic crisis. The cost of corruption is staggering, exceeding $1 trillion annually worldwide. This illicit flow of money siphons resources from developing countries, perpetuates poverty, and undermines the rule of law. The $1 trillion figure, while shocking, likely underestimates the true extent of the problem. Bribery distorts markets, discourages foreign investment, and hinders economic growth, particularly in developing nations. When corrupt officials divert funds intended for essential services like healthcare and education, it is the most vulnerable who suffer the most. Combating bribery is not just about upholding ethical standards, it's about creating a more just and equitable world. By tackling corruption, we can unlock trillions of dollars in lost resources and direct them towards poverty alleviation and sustainable development. For over 4 decades, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, FCPA, has stood as a testament to America's commitment to fair and transparent business practices. Enacted in 1977, the FCPA made it illegal for American companies to bribe foreign officials to secure business deals. This landmark legislation positioned the United States as a global leader in the fight against corruption. The FCPA was more than just a law. It was a statement of values. It declared that American businesses would compete on a level playing field based on merit, not illicit payments. The Act's impact extended far beyond American shores. By setting a global benchmark, the FCPA encouraged other nations to adopt similar anti-bribery legislation. This, in turn, fostered a more transparent and accountable global business environment. Despite criticisms, the FCPA remained a cornerstone of American policy, reflecting a deep-seated belief in the importance of ethical conduct in international affairs. Trump's executive order throws a wrench into the gears of the FCPA, potentially unleashing a torrent of unintended consequences. By signaling that bribery is acceptable, the order risks creating a race to the bottom, where ethical considerations are sacrificed in the pursuit of profit. This could have a devastating impact on developing nations, where corruption already undermines governance and stifles economic growth. Allowing bribery to flourish undermines the rule of law and erodes trust in institutions. When businesses can buy influence, it creates an uneven playing field and distorts markets. This can discourage foreign investment, stifle innovation, and ultimately harm economic growth. Moreover, legalized bribery can fuel instability and conflict. The potential consequences of Trump's executive order extend far beyond the realm of economics. The legalization of bribery has the potential to significantly undermine U.S. foreign policy objectives. For decades, the United States has championed democracy, human rights, and the rule of law around the world. These efforts are severely hampered when American businesses are allowed to engage in corrupt practices that directly contradict these values. The credibility of U.S. diplomacy is at stake. When American businesses pay bribes to secure contracts or influence policy, it sends a clear message that the United States is not truly committed to fighting corruption. This hypocrisy undermines American influence and emboldens corrupt regimes. Moreover, bribery can fuel instability and conflict in strategically important regions. When corrupt governments are propped up by illicit payments from foreign companies, it creates resentment among the population and can lead to unrest. This instability can create breeding grounds for terrorism and extremism, directly threatening US national security interests. By legitimizing bribery, Trump's executive order risks undermining US soft power and jeopardizing American interests abroad. It sends a dangerous message to the world that the United States is willing to compromise its values for short-term economic gain. The consequences for global stability and security could be devastating. Trump's executive order has ignited a firestorm of controversy, dividing Americans along political, business, and ethical lines. Supporters argue it levels the playing field for American companies in the global marketplace. Opponents, including human rights groups and lawmakers, condemn it as unethical and harmful to US foreign policy. Public opinion is divided, reflecting complex and conflicting values. The debate underscores deep divisions over ethics in foreign policy and economic interests. Before Trump's executive order threw its future into uncertainty, the FCPA had a long and storied history of successes in combating corruption and holding corporations accountable. Over the decades, the Act has been instrumental in securing billions of dollars in fines and penalties from companies engaged in bribery. One of the most notable examples is the case of Siemens, the German multinational conglomerate. In 2008, Siemens pleaded guilty to violating the FCPA and agreed to pay a record-breaking $800 million in fines for its widespread bribery scheme. This landmark case sent shockwaves through the corporate world, demonstrating the far-reaching arm and teeth of the FCPA. Beyond individual cases, the FCPA has played a crucial role in shaping corporate culture and promoting a culture of compliance within American businesses operating overseas. The Act has incentivized companies to implement robust internal controls and compliance programs to prevent bribery and corruption. The long-term consequences of normalizing bribery extend far beyond immediate economic gains or losses. Embracing corruption as a business practice risks undermining the very fabric of a just and equitable society, both domestically and on a global scale. When bribery becomes the norm, it erodes trust in institutions, undermines the rule of law, and creates a climate of impunity for the powerful. This can lead to a breakdown in governance, increased inequality, and a decline in public services such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Moreover, corruption can stifle innovation and economic growth. When businesses can simply bribe their way to success, it discourages fair competition and stifles the development of new ideas and industries. On a global scale, widespread corruption can fuel instability, conflict, and human rights abuses. The normalization of bribery represents a slippery slope toward a more corrupt and unjust world. In the face of this unprecedented challenge to ethical business practices and global anti-corruption efforts, it is more important than ever for individuals, businesses, and governments to take a stand for integrity and reject the normalization of bribery. Silence is not an option, it is a form of complicity. Individuals have a responsibility to educate themselves about the issue of corruption, hold their elected officials accountable, and support organizations working to combat bribery and promote transparency. Consumer choices matter. Patronize businesses with strong ethical track records and demand accountability from those that engage in corrupt practices. Businesses must go beyond mere compliance with the letter of the law and embrace a culture of ethics and integrity at all levels of their operations. This includes implementing robust internal controls, providing ethics training to employees, and fostering a workplace environment where speaking up against wrongdoing is encouraged and protected. Governments have a crucial role to play in strengthening anti-bribery laws, enforcing them rigorously, and cooperating with other nations to close loopholes that allow corrupt individuals and businesses to operate with impunity. The fight against corruption is a collective effort that requires a united front. By working together, we can create a world where bribery is not just illegal but unthinkable, where businesses compete on a level playing field based on merit, and where all people have an equal opportunity to succeed.